Hi, I'm Bob Vila. Welcome home again to the restoration of Virginia's Governor's Mansion. Today we're starting off outdoors, looking at the work that's being done in the landscape. We're installing some brick paths and driveways and the like. Also, we'll be showing you how a 200-year-old house gets brought into the 21st century with a lot of communications technology and a lot of wiring. The governor will be here to take a look at that with me. And then we're going to walk across the street to the Capitol building that Thomas Jefferson designed. Stick around, it's good to have you home again.
Sears presents Bob Vila's Home Again.
Well, we're with our general contractor, Sam Daniel, and boy, the front of the mansion really does look like a parking lot, Sam.
There's nowhere else for us to park. Capitol Square is just a zoo out there, and we do the best we can.
So these are all contractor trucks.
Yes.
But the front of the mansion and the side have now gotten a beautiful coat of pale yellow, and it really does look great.
It does look good, doesn't it? The preparation job worked out just great, and now the finished coat looks good. We'll finish the bottom where it's white now that the scaffold is moved, and then the whole thing will be this pale color of yellow.
But Sam, we've got less than a month to go before the mansion goes back on duty.
That's right.
The landscape has just begun. This magnolia is magnificent.
It looks like it grew overnight, doesn't it?
Yeah, and there's two of them flanking the mansion.
One on both sides.
Now, what's the economics of putting something like this in?
Well, the tree came from South Carolina, and it's pretty big, so it's kind of expensive.
The soil is really soft after all the rain.
Yes, it is. It's very, very wet there. This tree was about $1,200.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, it's well worth it because it really sets off the front facade.
It needed to be a large tree for the to look like it was mature.
Let's go take a look in the backyard, see what they're doing over there. Well, Sam, the formal garden in the back here looks good, but what are all these trenches for?
These are the trenches for the underground wiring for the site lighting.
Okay, so that's what this PVC piping here is all about, conduit.
Yes,
and this goes into the trenches.
Into this trench.
How deep do they have to be?
Code here is for about 18 inches of ground cover.
So he's not doing that with a shovel. He's doing
absolutely
that with
not. We're using this ditch witch here, which is a
that's the way to do it.
Electrician's dream.
Right. That'll go through anything.
We'll also use this to install the irrigation lines. That'll go in next.
Now, why have you removed the wall here?
This is a live oak tree planted by Admiral Byrd.
So it's been here for a few years.
Now, been here for quite some time.
Why did you have to tear down the wall?
Because the tree has grown to the point that it was touching the wall, as you can see by the paint that's on it. And in order to preserve the tree, we were going to relocate the wall.
It looks like the wall originally was on top of steel. Isn't this a steel I-beam here?
Yes, there is. The wall was built after the tree was planted, and so to protect the root system, the wall was placed on a steel beam.
So now you've had the concrete cutters slice right through a three-course brick wall, and how will you replace it?
Well, we're going to make a right angle and then reinstate the same radius that was in the wall before, but just away from the tree.
Okay, so it'll have a nice curve to it.
And it'll be able to grow for a long time.
Now, what are we doing with these cobblestones?
These are granite stones being used as curbing for the concrete pavers.
Okay, so that's a soldier course to edge this motor court, I guess, right?
That's right.
And here we are at work.
And here we have John Guyton, who's doing this work for us.
Hey, John, can we interrupt you?
How you doing? Yes,
How are you?
Good. Nice to meet you.
So you're laying them down in an actual bed of mortar, right?
Yes, sir. We furrow out about 4 or 5 inches and just use some Portland cement and do what they call a wet bed, a wet slab.
Yes.
And set them in place, going 6 inches from finished grade up.
Of course. And then, of course, the part where you're standing will be backfilled with soil, which really holds them tight.
That's right.
Now, where do you get these cobblestones? These don't look like they've ever seen duty on old roads here in Virginia.
Well, they come from up north in Connecticut, and what they do is they split large pieces of granite and then tumble them to give them the old look.
Oh, okay. So it's almost like what they're doing with marble for bathrooms now. They put them through a tumbler to make them look old.
Right, and they do them with pavers now, too, these days.
Yeah, but the pavers we're using here are concrete, right?
That's right, and those aren't tumbled. Those are 6x6 and 6x9 country cobble pavers from Bellegarde.
It's a nice pattern, just a soldier course of the 6x9s flanked by the smaller ones.
That's right.
Now, what's going on here, Sam, in terms of, I mean, I assume he's purposefully put his line down at an angle like that.
Yes, he has some slack in the line to give it just a constant dip, and this is for an accessible ramp that will cause this paving to meet up with the brick paving that's going to be over on this side.
All right, so that basically means that there won't be any bump or transition. If someone is using a wheelchair across here, it'll be an even, smooth transition. And this is where the brick begins, but I know they're working on the brick on the other end, right?
That's right.
Let's go take a look. Now, this side of the mansion is so exposed to, all the downtown buildings and everything, Sam. What are they doing about that?
Well, it really is exposed right now, but it won't be for long. We're planting a series of 14 American hollies along this hillside. They're mature when they come in, about 15 feet.
Oh, really?
Yes, and then in time they will give a good shield to the exterior of the mansion.
Yeah, well, those are hollies behind us,
right?
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Now, why has the sidewalk been built with all these jogs and odd forms in it?
Well, this is the sculpture garden through here, and these jogs give an opportunity for benches, and this will be brick paved. It's meant to be a nice, serene place for people to come and sit and think about things.
So it's an extension of the garden along the front and the side.
Indeed.
And it connects everything together.
Indeed.
I bet you had some fun trying to pour this concrete
Well,
up there.
it's on the back of the building, very hard to get to. We had to pump it from the street down there and had to get a special permit and do it last Saturday. It was a tough job.
All right, and then over here, which is the corner with the new addition and the service entry to the kitchen, we looked at this about 3 weeks ago before you actually poured the roof, right?
That's right.
This is a concrete porch roof held up by a lally column.
Yes.
And what's the gray column behind it?
This is a storm drain to take care of the rainwater.
Okay, so
this is just a temporary support, and
right.
This one is a permanent support that'll be encased in brick.
Right, and that looks like it just got poured a few days ago.
Yes,
as well.
I think we poured that Saturday along with this sidewalk back here.
And then this is the service drive, so that you'll actually have vehicles backing up here to deliver victuals, etc. to the mansion, right?
That's correct, and it's also the accessible entrance.
Okay, that's right, because that's where the elevator is, right over there.
That's right.
And all this brickwork really is very, very nicely done.
It really does look good.
Top notch. Now, that's a water-struck brick, but this is a different type of product, isn't it? The paver?
Yes, it is. This paver is set in mortar, and then it's got sand swept into the joints so that it will look like it did when it was first installed years ago.
And it also has this edge crimp to it, so that it looks like it's kind of worn and broken up.
Yes, that's a special feature that we had added to the brick so that it would look old, although it's new.
It's effective. Well, Sam, you've got less than a month.
Down to a month.
Good luck.
Can you believe it?
Coming up next, we'll tour the Virginia State Capitol building designed by Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was minister to France when in the spring of 1785 he received a request from colleagues in Richmond to draw up plans for a Capitol building. The Virginia Assembly had been meeting in a converted tobacco warehouse since the Commonwealth had shifted operations from Williamsburg to Richmond in 1780. Jefferson identified a suitable prototype, a Roman temple from the reign of Augustus in the 1st century AD, the Maison Carrée in Nimes, France. Jefferson blew up the scale and added windows. He changed the order from Corinthian to Doric, knowing there were no American craftsmen with the training to carve the more decorated form. Jefferson sent a plaster model back to the United States, and building commenced. The cornerstone was laid in the autumn of 1785, and the first session of the Assembly was called to order there years later. The building wasn't yet complete, however, as the portico was erected in 1790. The capitals and plinths came later too, and the walls weren't stuccoed until 1800. The building, set on a rising slope in the heart of Capitol Square, is the first neoclassical public building in America. This marvelous statue of George Washington, the father of our country, has been in this spot in the heart of the Capitol building since 1796, and there's a very wonderful story associated with it. Charlotte Troxell has been a guide here in the Capitol building for 25 years, right?
Yes.
And I know you're going to tell us more about the statue, but I'm fascinated by domes, and this is an internal dome. Jefferson loved to design buildings with a dome. Here, the Capitol building itself has an A-frame roof, and when you look at it from the outside, it's very much like a classical temple. But this internal dome with its neoclassical decorations and the triangular corner decorations is really quite special, especially with a skylight up above it. And this statue has a very fantastic history. Can you tell us a bit more?
Well, this was commissioned by our Virginia legislators to honor him as a great war hero. And while Mr. Jefferson was in France planning our building, he was asked to find one of the finest sculptors in Europe, which was Jean-Antoine Houdon.
Udon, right.
And he liked to see the people he did. He actually came to Mount Vernon and did all the preliminary work right there.
So he crossed the Atlantic in order to meet Washington
Yes,
before making the sculpture.
Absolutely. And they measured his body very carefully and recorded it, and then they made a mask of his
life
face.
mask.
Yes. And of course they talked about what he would wear and what would go on the statue as far as symbolism was concerned. And when it was completed, it is exactly the way General Washington looked when he was 53 years old.
How tall was he?
Very tall, 6 feet 2.5. He weighed about 210, and he was 53 when he posted it.
Now, this wonderful building includes the original two chambers, the House of Representatives and the Senate, but they
Yes.
haven't been used in a while, right?
No, we have the old Senate, which is to the left as you enter the building. The old House of Delegates is in the rear of the building.
In the rear.
Yes.
And this is the room where Robert E. Lee accepted the command of the Army during the Civil War.
Of the Virginia Army.
The Virginia
yes.
Army, that's right.
And it's also where Aaron Burr was tried for high treason against the government.
So it's a
back
very-
in 1807.
Very historic room. But since the turn of the 20th century, the Virginia legislature has had the new rooms that were added.
Yes. In 1906, the Senate moved to the West Wing and the House of Delegates to the East Wing.
One thing I enjoyed seeing is the original laptop writing desk from the
Yes.
Jeffersonian era, and then in the new House chambers, all the new laptop computers that are being installed to
Absolutely.
bring the facility into the
Yes.
21st century.
That's right.
Charlotte, thanks for giving us a peek.
Thank you so much for coming.
When we come back, Bob Riley shows us how this 19th century mansion has been wired for the 21st century. Tom Wells is here from Integrated Media Systems, and Tom, your company has done all this wiring, miles and miles of wiring here at the mansion.
Right, yeah.
Tell us why.
Well, we've got a situation where we've got to control heating, air conditioning, a PA system, home entertainment system, and a lighting control system.
Right. And it's a big place, so you've got to be able to do it from one central location as well as from remote locations, right?
Right, right.
Which is, what is this, a radio control?
Yes, it's a color touch panel system that's RF, very high frequency radio. It'll cover about 250, 300 feet of range. Will enable us to control all the aspects of the mansion. In the family room, for instance, we can actually go in and select the home again network if we like.
Oh, how nice. Well, this, I suspect, is something that can only be entrusted to the housekeeper, right?
No, actually, we've got the situation here where we've got staff and we've got residents that need to control these systems. So we have one on each floor.
Okay. And you've got different computer programs that would load on the information?
Well, actually, the system is set up for color touch panel use, or you can run it on a network, a PC network, which we've wired for Cat5 wiring throughout the residence.
We've got the Cat5 wiring throughout the residence. We've even got blow tubes, right, for any future technology that might come along?
Yeah, in case we want to use fiber optic, we've got that option as well.
Excellent job. Well, I know Riley was here a few weeks ago looking at some of the cable that was being pulled up throughout the place. Let's watch.
With me here in the basement is David Witt, our electrical contractor, and if I could stop you for just a minute, David, and ask you, what is this maze of conduit you've got going here? Is all that necessary?
Well, this maze right here, as you call it,
Yeah.
is a CATV conduits. What it does,
okay.
it distributes the closed-circuit TVs
Okay.
in the perimeter of the mansion.
So this is security.
Security system.
All right.
Exactly.
Okay, and
It
so
goes over to the monitors.
and the monitors will be in this room here.
Yeah,
So
this room is actually the executive protection unit room.
okay, so someone's going to be down here monitoring this.
Yes, this is where they monitor the security for the whole mansion.
Okay, now I see besides this maze here, which is all grouped together, you've got another grouping over here.
Right. That grouping over there is your telecommunication outlets.
Okay, now we're talking about this
Yeah,
group
this,
right
this,
up in,
this group that comes
Right-
through here into
right
this
here.
junction box there.
Okay. And
That
that's,
is
that's the
telecommunication outlets.
And so what's wires are in there? What's that?
All right, what it is a high-tech Cat5 cable, which is a high-grade telephone cable.
Okay.
All right, that distributes to each telephone data outlet
Right.
in the mansion.
Okay, so they've got that.
Yeah, and this particular rack here feeds the EPU room.
The EPU room.
Yeah, that's your protection unit room. Everything distributes in here.
Okay, great. And
All right, there's 2 3/4-inch conduits to each location.
two, why two?
All right, the second one is for future fiber optic use.
And so they're actually going to put a fiber optic unit in there.
At a later date, they're going to put a fiber optic unit in.
Okay, great. David, what are all these white pipes up there?
All right, the white pipes are the heating and air conditioning conduits that actually go up and feed the heating and air conditioning on the first and the basement levels.
Besides that, there is the hard wiring that goes around these ceilings here as well, which is also all in conduit. Everything is in the metal conduit.
Everything is in conduit. Everything on the first floor level and the basement level is fed from the basement level.
Okay.
All right, these pipes here actually feed the lighting in this room.
Okay.
And other pipes will feed receptacles and
Throughout
other
the whole
lights
basement end
throughout the
first.
whole basement end.
Now, what's the source for all of this?
All right, the source comes from the other side of the mansion.
Oh, could you show me that?
Sure, I'll be glad to.
Okay. Where are you taking me here, Dave?
I'm taking you down into the tunnel. The side over here is your plumbing side. It's your
Okay.
heating, cooling, domestic hot water.
All right.
All right, over this side is my stuff. All right, top conduit, 100 pair telephone cable.
Okay.
Goes to the main distribution board inside the mansion,
Yep.
which distributes the data outlets to the mansion.
Yep.
Back to like the EPO room where we were looking at all those conduits.
Just where we came from.
This is where this originates to that board, and then from there it distributes to that room.
Okay.
All right, these two conduits
Yep.
are the electrical service. All right, it's two sets of 500,000 wire, which is roughly that size.
Is that now using aluminum or copper coming through?
This
here?
is all copper wire.
Okay.
All right,
Yep.
roughly 500 amps in each conduit,
Right.
1,000 amp electrical service,
1,000 amps.
1,000 amps.
Yeah, that's enough to source probably 10 residential houses or so.
Could take care of 10 houses easily.
My God. Wow, that's a lot. So this all comes in from this direction here.
Yeah, what this does is come from the Capitol building.
Yeah.
It's a distribution of what we call a switchboard, which is still a large panel.
Yeah.
All right, comes from there 305 feet to our main distribution panel inside the mansion.
305 feet away.
Right. From there, we distribute to the various panels inside the mansion,
Okay.
which again distribute to the various receptacles, lights, and that type thing.
Got it. Okay. Well, let's go back in this direction here.
Okay, well done.
Okay.
Next, Virginia Governor James Gilmore joins us for an update on the mansion's new information technology. And joining us now, Governor James Gilmore. Hi, Governor.
Hi, Bob. How are you? I'm glad
Great.
you're here.
Great. Well, the mansion's coming along okay, right?
I think it's doing very well. We'll be in here, I think, very shortly.
2 or 3 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks.
And here we are in the second floor private quarters in what will be your library. And, you know, what I've been wondering about is with all the cables and all the communications technology that's been brought in here, you won't be able to get away from the office.
Well, I think every chief executive brings work home, but yeah, the main thing is that this is a very historic building. It was built all the way back in 1813. It's a great legacy to do this for the people of Virginia. But, you know, this is an information technology state, a leading information technology state. So we want this mansion to be ready to go for the 21st century, which means putting in the kind of wiring and cables to make it possible to be connected, not only with the Capitol, but with the world.
And it's very true what you say about the responsibilities of being the chief executive, because there are so many things you have to deal with on a daily basis, but then there are the emergencies, the acts of God, the hurricanes, the weather that we've seen here while we've been redoing the mansion, that ultimately you have to deal with.
Being a governor is not a 9-to-5 job. You're a chief executive of a major state here in Virginia. You hear and see things all the time. You have to be ready to act at all moments. But it's a nice home. It's a great place to be, but we wanted it to be ready for the future. This is an information technology state. We want this mansion to reflect that as well as the great history.
You and the First Lady and your sons and Sparky the family pet have all been living in rented quarters for the last 5.5 months. How's it been?
Well, it's a very nice place where we've been. It's a lovely mansion. It gives us the opportunity to do the economic development, entertaining, to have a police station in there, and all of the things necessary for an executive mansion. But it'll good to be back home here in the real home of Virginia's governors.
Well, we'll be throwing a party in about 2 weeks. We're running out of time. Come home again next time. We're going to be installing some recycled carpets and putting in a faux finished door. Till then, I'm Bob Vila. It's good to have you home again. For lots of information and resources for your home improvement project, check out my website at bobvila.com.